Everyone, we have 5 artifacts here. They're just going to breeze over a few of them, and we're going to go deep on this one in the middle here. You guys recognize this one from the on-site video where we found it together. You can see the ripples and ridges for his mouth there, and we're going to zoom in on that. You see some of the classic characters, the ones that are kind of shaped like Cleopatra. See how they have like this, maybe like this hat on. See how the head is really long or elongated, and there's another little version of that same one up there. This one here is really interesting. You can see on the right-hand side portrait how he has his eye over here, and then the nose, of course, and then there's little ripples or ridges all in this section. And we're going to investigate that as well. This man, which is almost like a moon-shaped crescent face, actually has a painted-on duck head on the very top of him. So the duck head wraps around kind of from right here, and this yellow section is the beak of the duck. You can see the crack for the duck's beak. And he's kind of pointing upward. You see the eye for him, and the colors, the red color coming down for the neck, and then the black head. So just looking at this section is the duck's head with the black section, and of course the yellow being the beak. It's really a complicated style of art for sure, but these artifacts are really defined. So let's go ahead and take a quick zoom in on some of these and take a really good look at this one here. So this one has his open mouth here with his nose, and you may be able to see the carving for an eye here, but also there's a larger section here. So further away, when you bring this stone very far away from you and tilt it maybe just a little bit, the image for the larger picture comes out, and I'll pick it up and move it around just a little bit for us as well here. So let's go ahead and come back in here. This artifact also has a duck on the outside of it as well. This white section here is the body of it, and the top of the head for the duck is right here, and you can see the beak. So very closely here you can see the duck's eye, and if you look closely at the round head all the way around there, switch sides so I don't cover up the stone here, and you can see the duck's back and the tail of the duck. So there's the foot of the duck, just in this one section right here, with its beak being all the way over here. So here's the duck's head. Go ahead and focus in, there we go. You can see how there's some coloration as well. Sometimes getting in too close isn't the right way to do it, but we'll pick it up and take a look right now. So let's go ahead and move it around in some shadows. Of course, that's the way that the art is really supposed to be looked at, is kind of in the shadows here. So, yeah, we can kind of see his head a little bit better. And the beak perhaps right here. See the little stripes on his head? And then the body of, I guess maybe just the bird. You see how the neck and how that's carved in there very deeply. So these eye sockets get very deep. This is a unique piece. Not very many of them are like this. So we have this portrait that we're just checking out over here, and we'll, I guess, take a look at the physical characteristics of the stone as well. All the X's with crosses on there. You see how these X's in this direction, you may be seeing an X here. And then when you turn it a little bit, you can see the X there. And it kind of wraps all the way around if you follow it. It's a very interesting stone the way it's shaped. So for the right side profile here, we're all seeing, of course, with the clay pack eye still, the nose and then the open mouth again. You may be seeing different portraits, of course. Think of the darker section of the stone as being like the hat or the hair. That is a fired on coloration that's on that stone there. So for the right side, you can see the nostril coming out right here, and of course his mouth, and the clay pack still residing inside of his eye. And I'll zoom in on that because the details in there, sometimes they put gemstones, and you'll see the smallest little circles, see the smallest little crack of a circle. And that's all clay adornments put onto these characters. So you can see some damage on this. Preparing for a video and studying this piece, I did drop it. Most of it didn't get damaged. There's a small chip missing from there though, which is highly unfortunate. So this is a really fantastic piece. There are, if you just look at the clay section here, you'll be able to see a portrait coming out with the rounder nose and the eye and the mouth there with the chin. And it's not just the face, you guys know, it's the cheekbones, it's the hat that he's wearing. You see this pointy hat, almost separated. You can see the round spot there for the clay for the eye. Someone mentioned the Smurfs. Perhaps this is a mage of some sort. This culture is almost like a druid type culture. It's very nature based. And as I turn it around here, you're going to be able to see that there's quite a bit of detail on this piece, especially for those that who know how to see the art. It is very heavy, so excuse me. Just on this surface image here, there's a character emblazoned on the top of this. Go ahead and change my position here so I can speak. You can see the carving for his nose here and the spot for his eye and his round cheek. It's a 3D art, so you kind of have to look at the cheeks, the chin. Almost looks just like a portrait right here. Almost like something maybe that you would shoot at, like a silhouette facing right at us for some reason. Very interesting stone for sure. Sorry about knocking the camera there. There's another one that I'd like to show you. They're all over. You guys will see them as well. See the sockets for the longest point as being the nose. This character, he resembles the Birdman with his nose being right here and his eye being right here. He's got the kind of big nose and then the face of the Birdman. I know it sounds weird, but once you are able to see the style of art, you pick up a pattern. Here's a right side portrait. You may even see down here some carvings and some inclusions for a very tiny portrait inside there. See the white face? Now, looking right into this section, of course you can see the paint for the eye right in this spot right here. And there will be a small little nose and then a tiny little ripple for the lips of the character with the very large headdress. See how the headdress just swoops up, comes straight up. The character's right here. And then, of course, there's a larger character just in this whole section here with, of course, his eye, nose, and then the open mouth here. And just a couple degrees, you'll find more and more. So this is a very curious piece. Very few are like this. So we'll wash this one off and take a look at it together when the holes are all cleaned out and everything. It's going to be a really nice one. We all know this one here. This is a really great one as well. Don't mind my spark plugs. This one, if you look closely in the eye socket, you'll be able to see the circles that are kind of carved in there. The jawline is really great and the cheekbone. So let's go ahead and give this a little bit of a tilt. And the mouth, as you see, ripples and ridges and one large ripple or ridge. So that's going to be for the main image, the large one. And then as we tilt this even further, you can see how there's some paint on the cheek. You can take that cheek and raise it up and create another character inside of there. The cheek and jawline of this are fantastic. Now on the other side of it, it also has some other portraits, but they're a little bit more difficult to see. And we've gone over this one a few times before, guys. So take a close look at your rocks in your neighborhoods. People from all over the world find these. So I'm seeing them all over the place. You guys have them where you live as well. What's really nice about this too is it sits flat. See how flat that is. So it is a little statue there, and you can see really the roughness for the hair. You might even be able to see some squiggles. There may be a serpent or something there. And then you can see how the face is portrayed just at the bottom with the circle for the eye. Different distances definitely help. So I wasn't really seeing it so good before, right? But then when you bring it far away, you can really start to see that just in this one section, it's a face. We're holding the person's neck. He's got a very round head. Yes, pretty interesting. Quick look at the Cleopatras. Of course, you can see the motif that's going on there. And what's really neat, so you see the smaller one. If you look at the whole thing now, maybe bigger, you can see there's a little indentation or socket here. So ignore that face and maybe turn it into a different one with an open mouth here, the nose, and then the darker spot. So it goes from a woman down here to perhaps a man right there. Of course, looking further away from us. There are some interesting symbols and things on here if you look closely. There's some triangles and diamonds, perhaps large eyes. And you can see again kind of the same thing where you have the smaller portrait here. There's going to be several in this one section, but then if you hold it more vertical and you tilt it in further, it becomes maybe a full portrait with the person's eye right there. Now this eye in there, I've looked at this before, it is a photorealistic eye. Of course, it's not going to look just correctly if we're pointing it at us. Most of these are to be viewed from behind. Oh, that's a pretty crazy one in the background there. So finally, quick closer look at this one with the goose head. He's very heavy, so I'm not going to be able to hold him very much. But there are all your tool marks there on the mouth, and that's what happens is they create a row of mouths as demonstrated before, and you can see how sharp that is. It's actually still very sharp. There's a little portrait in here, and then he has the duck head, and all the mouths, every ripple is representing another portrait that's within the stone. Every degree that you turn it is going to represent a different generation, perhaps, of a person. As we said, we don't write a narrative about this stuff because we're still learning a lot about it ourselves. Thank you guys for joining me for this. Have a good one. Stay cool. I know it's getting hot. Bye-bye.